The Expanse takes a small step closer to its return as a comic book breaks all records. Welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. So, I know what you're going to ask. What on earth does a comic book have to do with the return of The Expanse? Well, if you are a regular Sci-Trekker, you'll know that after The Expanse Season 6 ended at Amazon, I told you that actually a couple of companies were very interested to take up the project if Amazon decided not to. We know that there are still 3 novels in the series that they could base a series on, but Amazon currently have chosen not to. Now, Amcron is the company that actually owns the intellectual property that is The Expanse. They actually own the TV show. They're the people that actually made it. They made it for Netflix, they made it for the Sci-Fi channel, and they made it for Amazon. But they do not hold the distribution rights. Amazon do. And the contract that Amcron signed stated that Amazon had 2 years following the end of any production to actually hold on to those rights. So at the end of 2 years, if Amazon decide not to take up the option to produce more of The Expanse, Amcon are allowed to sell it to somebody else. Now, I told you that initially HBO Max and Warner Brothers were the company most interested, but that interest has waned somewhat. Since David Zaslav have come in, etc., they are focusing on a much smaller pot of TV shows and things, and they're not as interested as they once were. But that does not mean that the interest went away. Apple stepped in, and they would be very interested in creating something around the Expanse universe. Now, something I did tell you that very early on, after the end of season 6, Amazon did consider continuing the project. They did consider making 3 movies at one point. They then considered maybe doing a spin-off show, but none of these things got past sort of the initial conversation stage and really have been stuck. As far as I'm aware from my sources in and around Amazon, no further conversations have happened. They're focusing on other things. So, Amcron have about a year left until they could potentially sell this to Apple, that they could make a new television series and put it on Apple TV Plus. But what would Apple like them to make? Well, apparently HBO and Apple kind of agreed on this. They don't necessarily want to jump it straight into season 7. What they would quite like to do is create something that is their own. They want to build a franchise off this universe if possible. Now, franchises are going to be something you hear a lot about in this channel in the next few months because it seems to be an obsession, particularly with streaming services, about building franchises. They become very aware that anything with the Star Wars words on it sell, and that they want to have similar sort of projects in their stable. Now, Apple desperately want a big, serious sci-fi project. Dragon's Tooth is going to be the next comic book produced by James S.A. Corey as the creator, Andy Diggle as one of the writers, and Rubin as the main artist. They're going to produce this comic book, and they've done it through Boom Studios. Now, they set up a Kickstarter project with a target of $25,000. If they met that target, they would be able to produce the comic. You were basically pre-ordering the comic by signing up to the Kickstarter. In the first 24 hours, they blew past $25,000 and actually reached a grand sum total of $179,251. They then smashed any record for a Kickstart within the first day. 1 week into this, and they're currently at $827,802. And there's still a couple of weeks to go. So it would seem that this comic book is 100% going to happen, but also this underlines and again proves the popularity of The Expanse. This is the most grown up of all of the sci-fi we've seen in the last probably 10 years. It's the most realistic sci-fi we've seen in the last 10 years. And the fans of The Expanse are absolutely committed to the series and would love to see it return. So what does the comic book success mean to the future? Well, it should also be noted that the comic book is based immediately after book 6, but before book 7. It is a spin-off. It is exactly the sort of story that Apple want. It is exactly the sort of story that HBO Max were asking about. So S.A. Corey was obviously very aware of this. Again, exclusively on SciTrek, I told you a couple of months ago, actually, that Naren Shankar and Ty Frank, producers from the original series, were currently going through the process of creating their own production company. Now, this, again, might be 2 plus 2 equals 6 a little bit, but the creators of the original show are trying to make a production company. The writer from the original show, James S.A. Corey, is writing and creating a comic book based on the things that we know the big streaming services asked for, a story between 6 and 7. They seem to be trying to create a wider universe and a bigger story, a franchise opportunity for a bigger story. Exactly, again, what the streaming services are asking for. So, assuming that Amazon in the next 12 months doesn't have a massive change of heart and change direction, it does look like we're going to see The Expanse once more, but on a completely different channel again. And that new series will be something we have not seen. It will not be based on book 7, but based on some of the more interesting possibilities that we were left with at the end of book 6. Now, guys, get into comments and tell me exactly what you think, but I think I know what I'm going to get told. And there are lots of really interesting battles and struggles for them to explore in lots of different ways that any spin-off series can do. If The Expanse returns to Apple TV Plus, I'm going to have to go and subscribe. And that's another big reason why Apple desperately want to, because they know loads of fans of The Expanse will follow. I cannot wait to see if these plans pan out. And if they do, we could get to see some really, really exciting, very different stories. Something very different to Star Trek, very different to Star Wars. Grown-up sci-fi for grown-ups. And that's really what we want to see. So, guys, get into the comments. Tell me exactly what you think. Is The Expanse something you desperately want to return? I would love to know, as a bit of a poll, if The Expanse did end up on Apple TV Plus, would you subscribe? I'd love to know exactly what you think. Get into the comments. If you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out. And if you want to become a fully fledged SciTrekker and support the channel even more, consider hitting that join button. Also, check out the description. There's loads of links to loads of SciTrek stuff, including that Discord server, Twitter account, blah, 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 blah. As always, guys, please stay safe, and I'll see you next time.